Hey y'all, I know a lot of you have probably already heard about this, but I just want to make sure that the story circulates, so this is more so targeted at those who somehow haven't heard about this yet, so I'm just going to be going over the facts and then giving a little bit of my take with my experience here in a minute. So there was a woman in Pleasant Hills, Pennsylvania, who was working at a Panera there, and she is now suing because her manager was discriminating against her because she was pagan. The story hits a little bit close to home because that area is actually very close to where I'm originally from, and I am very familiar with the type of discrimination that happens in that area. I have the article pulled up on the computer next to me, so if you see me looking off to the side, it's because I'm double checking what I'm saying or I'm reading something directly from the article. I'll have all of the articles I'm referencing linked below, as well as a page to contact the company that did this so that we can try and get some kind of justice for this woman. Before we get into anything else, I do just want to clarify briefly that while it says that she worked for and is suing Panera, Paneras are franchised out, and the company she is actually suing is a group by the name of Flynn Restaurants. Flynn Restaurants, Flynn, which are a huge franchise group. They own a bunch of Paneras, they own a bunch of, I think it's Wendy's and Arby's, or the other two they own a lot of. The point is, they own a lot of different restaurants. It's a big franchise group, not Panera specifically. There are non-Panera, or there are non-Flynn Paneras. I will explain. If you go into a restaurant, if you look at the door, if it's part of a restaurant group, usually you'll see a little sticker on the door stating which restaurant group it owns to. At least I know they do that down here where I live. So if you are going to try and avoid, eating at people who did this, try and look for that sticker. Just boycotting Panera as a whole, unfortunately, isn't really the most helpful thing to do because it's not Panera as a whole. So the story starts out, she was at work one day, just on her break, minding her own business, and the store manager and assistant manager are in the break room, presumably discussing religion. It doesn't really get into the specifics, but at some point in conversation, they turn to her and ask her what her religion is. Now, when your manager asks you a question like that, you can't really just fluff it off and ignore it, and she did decide to be truthful and admit that she was pagan rather than, trying to hide it or anything like that. And it all just went downhill from there. Her manager instantly just looks at her and tells her she is going to hell. She definitely took it way better than I would have taken it at that point, when I still lived there, and she just kind of said okay, fluffed it off, and went about her job. If that were all there were to the story, it would still be unacceptable, still be unprofessional, but we probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. Of course, that's not all there was to the story. Her manager then proceeds to tell her basically that until you find God, we're cutting your hours. And every schedule, she has succinctly less and less hours, from my understanding. She was then harassed daily, being told things like she was going to hell and that her religion was false. After a while, she couldn't take it anymore, and she put in a request to the district manager to be transferred somewhere else. Her transfer was denied without any kind of valid reason, unfortunately. At that point, she and her husband, who also worked there, it's unclear if he was a pagan or not, but from my understanding it doesn't sound like he was, were both fired and out of a job because of their religion, because of an intolerant manager. Now, as I said, this story hits really close to home. This is less than an hour where I grew up as a kid, where I spent most of my life, and where I personally discovered paganism. I don't want to get into too much of my own stories and the discrimination I saw there, but I will say, this is not the only example of something like this happening in the area, I can promise you that. The area is deeply, deeply Christian. It is incredibly discriminatory. I personally know of several people who I later learned were pagan who lived in the area, who were in the broom closet for very similar reasons. At one job, I actually witnessed this happen to somebody, and it's why I left that job as soon as I could. Now, like I said, I don't want to make this too much about me, but it is incredibly upsetting to know that this is still happening there. I'm really glad she chose to take it to the courts. If everything she documented is as easy to prove as it looks like it is, this is a clear violation of rules. It is a clear case, and I really hope she's able to win this over in court. Unfortunately, things like this have a habit of settling out of court and never making the news. It's really upsetting that I feel like I've only seen this talked about in pagan spaces. Religious discrimination is a huge problem, and as much as this is a pagan story, it really needs to propagate outside of the community, or people outside of us aren't going to realize how much of a problem it really is. To help create allies, I want to make sure the story spreads as far as possible, and I know while I do pagan content, a lot of people are also here for my sewing. I really hope at least a few of you from my sewing side of things stuck around for this video, because I want to make sure everybody knows what's going on so that we can all work to fix it. Obviously, it's probably too late to help her situation. All she can hope for is justice in the courts. But these situations are all over the place, and I just want to make sure we're all on the lookout so that we can try and do what we can to keep more from happening. I know there's not much one can really do in the workplace when you see a manager harassing somebody like that, but, at least knowing you have an ally in a hostile space can make a world of difference. So that's all I have for you for this video. I'm going to be posting 2 videos this week just because this one is pretty heavy and I didn't really feel like I had a lot to say because I didn't want to just repeat Ocean or Leakai's points, and I'm sure there's more people who's covered it. That's just who I know of off the top of my head. But I did just want to make sure the story spread a little bit. So I've left links to the articles and to the contact information for the franchise owners. Please, if you have a few minutes, if you have something you want to say, submit it, explain, that you know that this was wrong, that something needs to be done about it, and help them understand the severity of the situation. There should be another video up shortly after this one, hopefully on a little bit of a lighter note, just to, I didn't just want to repeat the same thing everybody else said and then leave again for a week. So thank you for watching this. I'll see y'all in a bit. Bye-bye.